The story is maybe a couple of months old, but I have to do the story. This story is such a big deal. Look, I've made the point before that the unaccountability associated with pretty much any system rots that system. It just spoils it to its core. And cops in this country is part and parcel to the same process. We throw cops up against a system to which they have no power to stop, entirely and always reactive. And frankly, they respond to this as human beings respond to these type of situations poorly. Flagrant abuse, ignoring rights, and getting into a power distribution between an officer and an individual where the officer basically has all the power in that process, including the power to dispense absolute justice at a moment's notice. Beyond the distribution of justice and the way that they go about it, quote unquote, you also have this notion of flagrantly abusing rights. I showed you the cops the other day where the guy was riding around saying he was looking for a race war because he wanted to shoot blacks. That guy was on the force. That guy was locking up people. And do you believe that that guy was giving people the best case scenario? Do you believe that guy was immediately going to, what can we put this person in prison on, especially if they were people of color? He had a clear, undeniable bias, especially if you're in the car arguing that we need to kick off a race war and I want to buy guns so I can go out there and murder blacks. Civil asset forfeiture, taking people's property. No trial. I'm just going to take it. I'm a cop. I can do it. It's within the law. More importantly, some of these stops where the person is entirely and completely innocent and the cop, for whatever reason that cop is doing it, looks for ways to get that person on the hook for something else. I'm going to show you two cases. Flagrant abuse caught on body camera, and the cops still walk. They still walk. Aggravating. Welcome to the soapbox. You're going to love this. And when I mean love, I mean you're going to absolutely hate this. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. This video is going to be short because there's not a huge amount of content for the video, but it's aggravating and it legitimizes all of those protests out in the streets. Every video like this that shows up with a cop either beating somebody, punching somebody, kicking somebody, hitting somebody with a shield, tasing, shooting, especially when it's in the back, and especially when the person is unarmed, or in this case, like in the video I'm going to show you, lying horrendously and doing and going beyond the law to get people hooked up in matters of law. And those people, because of an income distribution or a class issue, not being able to contest those charges. Meaning somebody else with means would have never been brought up on those charges. It's very possible if the people were white, they would have never been brought up on those charges. And more importantly, if those people had, like I said, of means, money in the bank, where you have the capacity to hire lawyers to go out and fight vigorously for your interests, that's not what we were dealing with. And because that wasn't what we were dealing with, you basically had a cop to get people, or did whatever they could, even going beyond the law, completely innocent people, and to get those people arrested and prosecuted. Take a look at the body cam footage. Two cops on the beat. Erickson and Elmer Pastron. Look at what happens. Just take a gander.
Apparently planting marijuana in a car during a traffic stop. The incident comes just a few weeks after a similar one, originally reported by the New York Times, in which the same cop was again caught by his body camera in the apparent act of planting marijuana in a car.
Yo, he put something in my car, yo!
Alright, this was in the back seat on the floor. Said marijuana cigarette, it's lit.
Now, in two cases, In the second case, which they're showing first, or better yet, this is the first case, but the way they do it is a little weird. But this is the second case. This first case, I'm sorry. In this case, the cop, his body camera goes off for about 4 minutes. He said there were technical problems. And he goes looking and rummaging in the back of the car. There's nothing there. He eventually goes back again, rummaging in the back of the car. And he comes back and says, I found a marijuana cigarette. Now you can hear the woman saying, yo, he is planting something in my car. Now the body camera footage shows him fiddling in the back of the car. The body camera footage shows the conversation he's having with his other officer where he's basically getting agitated. It was like, we got to find something. We got to find something. He did the exact same thing again a few weeks later, where this time around goes to the car. There's nothing there. He goes to talk to his partner. We got to find something. Goes to the back of the car saying, fuck. And then you see him taking out a bit of weed and dropping it into the thing and then picking it up again and saying, we found weed. Watch. Take a look. It's utterly amazing.
In the more recent incident, 2 officers pulled over passenger Jason Serrano and a friend for a broken taillight. As the officers approached the car and the driver rolled down the window, the officers claimed the car smelled like weed and ordered both people out of the car.
The car smells like marijuana, so we're gonna check it, all right? Okay, and then what? Fix it. There's nothing in the car, you'll be good to go, all right?
Serrano was recovering from abdominal surgery after being stabbed. He lifts his shirt to reveal his wound to one of the officers.
Now, I hope you heard that. Serrano is the gentleman that's in the passenger seat. Serrano had a stab wound, and he was trying to show the cop, look, I have a stab wound. Don't ask me to get out the car. I can barely stand up. The cop, I don't want to see that. I don't care about that. Gets him out the car, drags him to the ground, and when he is trying to not hit the ground, like face first or something, the cop gets pissed off and says, stop resisting. Keep watching.
I don't want to see that right now, okay?
I can get out. I can barely move, bro.
Once out of the car, the officers demand to search Serrano's jacket, and he refuses.
Do me a favor. Give me the jacket.
There's nothing in my jacket. I'm not getting
My
searched
man.
for no reason.
My man.
As Serrano grows agitated, the officers become more aggressive.
Come on, relax.
Relax.
Yo.
Relax, 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 relax.
Yo.
They grab him, push him to the ground, and handcuff him.
Take him down. Take him down. Take him down. Take him down. Take him down.
Yo.
Relax. Relax.
Serrano remains on the ground, handcuffed and in visible pain for the rest of the traffic stop, until an ambulance arrives to take him to the hospital.
Can someone call an ambulance? Like, is anybody gonna do that?
The 2 officers, Kyle Erickson and Elmer Pastran, begin searching the car and Serrano's jacket. Officer Erickson tells Pastran that they need to find evidence.
Searching the rest of the car.
Yeah, we gotta find something.
Officer Erickson begins searching the car. He searches the passenger side area first. When he finds nothing, he can be heard murmuring an expletive. Erickson returns to Pastran to ask.
Should I search the whole thing? Or what do you
Yeah,
think?
search the whole thing.
He returns to the passenger side and searches through Serrano's jacket, the cup holder, and the center console. As he continues searching the rest of the car, the driver approaches.
I can watch him search my car. It's like, what is he doing? Like,
Man,
Just so we're clear, there's nothing in the car. Just so we're clear, there's nothing in the car. You saw them search the car. The body camera got a full shot of the car. There's nothing in the car. Let's keep going though.
back.
Because
why? What are you doing?
Erickson looks back at Pastran, visibly agitated.
See nothing.
It's all right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After several minutes searching the car, Erickson again admits that he hasn't found anything.
Nothing?
I don't see anything.
Yeah. You said it's in the trunk? I'll get it for you.
15 seconds later, Erickson returns to the front seat cup holder and sets something down.
It's a little bit of weed. It's a little bit of weed.
Erickson continues searching through the center console, where he's already looked. A minute or so later, he again sounds agitated.
Good?
Uh-uh.
Erickson shakes his head as he continues fiddling through Serrano's jacket, just out of the camera's view. A couple minutes later, the two officers say they found wheat flakes in Serrano's jacket.
Flakes everywhere, though.
Yeah, no, he had weed. You could see his.
They set him up clearly on body cam footage. They set him up. The weed even hits the dashboard before falling in, where he picks it up and says, "I found weed." He even checked it twice, where you can see it on the body camera itself that there was nothing there prior to him dropping in the weed into the cup holder. And then he goes to the jacket and basically does the same thing. He does this to another person. Now the other person, similar situation, pull her over. And the second person, though, fights this. And in fighting this, gets this body cam footage. Take a look at this. I mean, this stuff gets released. I think. So he's shaking his head. He said, "We found weed flakes or something." All right, let's go to the second one.
Exchanged during the search just a few weeks earlier.
Yeah. We had a fine.
Second
You know what I mean?
On that occasion, too, the search had ended with Erickson asking Pastran.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
An ambulance finally arrives to pick up Serrano. He spends the next 5 days handcuffed in a hospital room, waiting for his abdominal wound to close. Serrano took a plea deal to avoid jail time and didn't learn of this body cam's footage existence until after he pleaded guilty. The video, which didn't emerge for nearly 2 years, underscores the limited information available not just to the public but also defendants, and
Yeah, he got prosecuted. This video footage came out after he got prosecuted. And right here, the second case, right here, is the one where he put something in the car and he came back with the joint. After the video camera had shut off for 4 minutes with technical difficulties. That body cam footage speaks for itself. Guilty is sin. Guilty is sin. And yet, the person who's innocent in that process, who's thrown to the ground, despite the fact that the person has stitches, that guy gets prosecuted. These cops, after this body cam footage became available, where anybody with a brain and with eyes and with ears can listen to the conversations they're having amongst each other in regards to, we got to get this person hooked on some kind of crime. We got to find some kind of crime to get this person hooked on. It's like has a fetish for just finding shit to arrest people for. And when he can't find anything to arrest them for, credibly, he creates a crime, including the resisting arrest. After this became available, right here. So right here, unlike Serrano, Cutea, that's the second one. That's the one where the person said, "Hey, he's putting something in my car." That was in the back seat where he found the joint. That was the first video you saw. The drug charges was eventually dropped after the body camera footage was played during pretrial hearing. After that video was introduced as evidence, the judge asked for an off-the-record conversation with the lawyers from both sides. When they were done speaking, the prosecution threw the case out and recommended Erickson hire a lawyer. After conducting an internal investigation, the NYPD determined accusations of misconduct against the officers were unfounded. They're still on the force. Pastrone and Erickson are still on the force today patrolling Staten Island. After a video comes out like that, 2 videos, with them planting evidence visibly, clearly, unequivocally in people's cars. So much so that the prosecution says you need to hire a lawyer. But NYPD, these charges are unfounded. These charges are unfounded. And you're telling me that you're going to reform the police department by giving them more cats? I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Because the fact of the matter is, they didn't have to plant charges. Their job is not to go out there and look for things to arrest people for. So much so, so fervently so, that they create evidence. in order to get those people locked up. How many people have they done this to? How can you not have a review of everything that they ever did the moment that you see something like this? Because fact of the matter is that probably wasn't the first time they did that. I don't believe that for a moment. That the first time they did that was the first time they got caught. They understood what they were talking to each other about. They had a safe space in regards to having that particular conversation. And he was perfectly willing to plant evidence. Is it illegal for a cop to walk around with weed in his pocket? If it's illegal for the driver to walk around with weed in his pocket, why wouldn't it be illegal for the cop? Especially when you see the cop planting it on the driver. Should not the charge that the officer was going after that person for, wouldn't that cop also be eligible to be charged with, considering he had the weed in his possession before putting it into the pocket or into the driver's possessions? I mean, are you kidding me? All across the United States. That all across the United States. It's not a bad apple. It's not a bad apple. The whole thing is just utterly rotten. Like, share,